All right, guys. Well, this is a really very momentous day for me because I am finally getting my Tracker Targa V-18 walkthrough dialed in. Spraungel Performance Marine here in Anoka, Minnesota. And I got to tell you, never fear, when you're about to do some video, there's going to be a guy that's going to be lawn mowing right next to you. But that's not important. I'm at Spraungel Performance Marine here to pick up my Tracker Targa. They've just rigged this thing out. Wait until you see what they've done to this boat. I haven't seen what they've done to this boat. Let's go check it out. All right, this is a big deal. Look who we have here. The man, the myth, the legend. This is Taylor Spraungel. I was calling your last name, I was calling you Spraungel for the long. No, it's not.
It is Spraungel. It's a weird spelling, but that's why we abbreviated the business to SPM so that everyone can pronounce it, because it's a little weird spelling.
I don't know where you want to start. I'm game for whatever.
Well, I think the first place to start would be up in the bow, and we can kind of work our way back. So you had a old power drive on here that I don't really think did much of anything fun or anything cool. So we went right to the Ultrex Quest. We have sold a bunch of these motors. I actually personally run one of these motors. Zach, our other technician in here, runs one. Calvin's gonna be running one. We have extensively tried every trolling motor on the market, and when it really comes down to brass tacks, I feel like this is the best motor. Not only just in performance and durability, but Minn Kota is an awesome company that stands behind their product. We go down there every year for training. You know, we get to meet with the people, we get to see how they design these, how they engineer these. It's super cool. I mean, they have like testing facilities in the shop that they hook these things to and do stuff that anglers couldn't even figure out how to do on the water. So with this motor and with, you know, unanimous upvotes from customers and guys running these motors and loving them, this is where we are. Most of the time now with your modern angler, with or without forward-facing sonar, a lot of anglers are fishing off the bow of their boat. And what the Quest will give you is it'll give you a responsive heel-to-toe foot pedal. So if you're fishing, you know, shallow or around obstructions, or you want to make a quick maneuver, it's a lot easier to just rock your foot to do that maneuver, keep yourself where you need to be. On top of it has all of the other features that the other motors have. So, you know, this motor is actually tied in with your graphs, so you can follow contours, super integrated into the system. It's an awesome motor. It's fast, it's powerful. Nothing comes close to these things when it comes to speed and power. And you know, a lot of people might say, well, you know, I'm not trying to race with my trolling motor. What do I need power for? Well, the biggest thing is if you're spot locked in heavy winds or heavy current, this motor has to work a lot less hard to keep you where you want to be. So a traditional brushed motor might be at 80, 90% to hold you in the current. This guy's only clicking at, you know, 40%. The other thing is with the Quest, anything that's denominated as Quest in Minn Kota's lineup means it's its new brushless technology. And brushless is essentially talking about this lower unit right here. It's an upgraded design over traditional brushed motors. It's extremely quiet, it's extremely powerful, and very efficient. So it is literally the best technology that you can get in an electric trolling motor, on top of the other features like the steering box in this motor is smart. It knows which way the head is pointing. So gone are the days of the motor kind of races you this way and then pulls you back this way because it needs to sense a movement to know where it's steering. This motor knows within a degree where the motor is pointed at all times, and with it being a sensored brushless, it knows exactly what power it needs to input. So for an example on my boat, I'm running a Quest on a 16-foot tracker as my river boat. I wasn't able to use spot lock with my previous motor because it would be so jarring and so inconsistent, it would almost throw you out of the boat. When I switched over to this motor, all I have to do is hit spot lock and you barely know it happened. All you know is the current's rushing by and you're staying in one spot. So we went for the best. We got you a 60-inch Ultrex Quest. We had this one hooked up to 36 volts, and this will give you plenty of power for anything you would ever want to do.
So yeah, that's a 60-inch shaft. Oh my goodness, because this is a deep V boat. Hey, we're in Minnesota, man. That's all we have up here.
Exactly.
Just kidding. But yeah, so this is basically the era of forward-facing sonar.
Correct.
And Taylor's just dialed this thing in. Check this out.
So what we did here is up on the front, we have a Humminbird Xplore 12. We mounted that in a position to where in the future we can add a second graph in there very easily.
What a nice sneak past you over on this side.
So you're going to be able to add a second graph in here very easily. We already have a mount picked out to basically have a second graph here for when we upgrade to this. We'll go into the Explorers a little bit more in depth when we get to the back, but the main thing I want to talk about is this. Now, if you are primarily a walleye off the bow angler or a bass angler, I think trolling motor mount is the best because you have the, you can point the trolling motor where you want. However, if you're looking to expand into multi-species, that's where we love the pole mount. So this is Brew City. This is a pole that we love. A couple key features with it. So it's down right now. You want to move spots? All you got to do is rotate this thing up, just like this. There's a pin that drops in. You can lock it in place. And it's secure enough to where you can run to your next spot without having to fuss around too much with it.
Yeah, that
you get
is
to your
super
spot.
slick.
Yeah, you get to your spot, you drop it in. The other nice thing about it is, let's say you don't want it. You're not going to be fishing with it, or you're just going out with a family or whatever. All you have to do is unplug your Megalive 2, slide the pole out, leave that in the garage, leave it in the truck, put it in a rod box, wherever you want to go with it. So what we opted to do is, on this boat, we're going to run a Johnson Outdoors setup, so we've got Humminbirds. We went with the Megalive 2. This is a huge improvement over the Megalive 1. We were very, very impressed with it. We got to see it firsthand ice fishing. We had one on the water, and I'll tell you, the stuff that this thing picks up is crazy. The first time I ever got to play with it, we were ice fishing on a small body of water. We were only like 10 feet of water. And I could see people dropping little tungsten jigs 100 feet away on this thing in that shallow of water. Finding fish, absolutely no problem whatsoever. Has the same, perspective mode, forward and down, just like everything else. But the nice thing about the pole is if you're spot locked, you can move this pole to wherever you want to look. So if you're crappie fishing or something like that, you can find the school and you can point it at the school you want. You can tighten this in to lock it in if you want, and then you know that your cast is always lined up. If the school moves, you can just simply move the pole to find the school. Same thing if you're fishing for catfish, if you're trying to look into a log jam for some big flatheads, if you're trying to find a school of channels, if you're looking for a pot of walleyes, bass on a weed line, having it on a pole makes it really quick and really easy. The other thing that we did is if we come back here, I know Greg is talking about a Swiss Army knife of a boat. If I hop in the boat here, we actually put a second transducer hookup
look at
right
how
here.
amazing this is. What would you call that kind of setup there?
We call it snake skin.
So that's snakeskin, but look at how he's got it. So it's coming out of that hole.
Yep.
What is that kind of, what's that called, that hole? Is there a name for that? I'm sorry, I'm really inept.
We just call it a black hole at this point because it does just go into an open space in the side of the boat. But what this allows you to do is you can move that Brew City pole. You can either have it back here if you're trolling, or if you're bottom fishing off the back of the boat, you can hook it right up. If you're fishing up here, if you're going to be, like if you're trolling for walleyes or something and you want to be sitting here, you have the hookup right here. You can put that Brew City pole right here while you're scouting around. And the way that we did this was because you have multiple options, all you got to do is you can just slide this right back in and it goes away completely.
Yeah, look at this. So we talked about this. Okay, how could we do this? If you work with Taylor, and I'm going to recommend that you do to have your boat rigged, because you're not going to be able to rig like that. He came up with this idea, and it's so slick, it's so perfect. That goes right, just stuffs right back in there, and it's just clean. The cool thing about aluminum boats is that a lot of them had this track system built in.
Like this boat, you have a rod storage box here. In the past, you'd have to put tracks or rails in. Well, you don't really have that option with this. So with that Cisco mount, it goes up and over this. So you can, have it right here, and if you got to get the rods in, just slide it forward and you can still get into this. And then, you know, you're keeping this nice EVA matting up here. You're not putting tracks in that you don't need or anything like that. You're utilizing what the boat came with factory.
Okay, so now where do you want to move to now? You want to talk about the console?
So now we'll talk about the Explorers. So we had a very, very base model 9-inch Lowrance up here that I don't really think did anything well. So what we did is we've got another 12-inch Explorer here. Again, we have planned for a second unit. If that happens in the future, we have a mount picked out to put a second unit here. This is a really cool mount. It's made by Ram. It's not your traditional Ram where it's a ball. It's a swing mount. So all this unit can do is swing. So you could effectively swing this unit out. You know, you can swing it back in. You can kind of do whatever you want with it. But the nice thing about it is when you tighten this thing down, it doesn't, they don't move, and you don't have, like, it can't slide down. You know, in rough water or whatever, when you have this thing tightened up, it is not going to move whatsoever. We hate using the Ram mounts with the traditional balls just because in big water or whatever, they can come loose, they can move around all over the place. So these are really slick mounts. We really enjoy using these. And then with the units, we went with the Explorer 12. So these are new this year from Humminbird. They are absolutely phenomenal units. Basically, they took what I thought Humminbird was lacking and put them into these units. They have, you know, obviously the side imaging that Hummingbird's known for, excellent mapping, and then with everything networked with Hummingbird's one boat network system, you can control the trolling motor off of this. You can see your Mega Live on both of these. You know, you can change your transducers and stuff like that. You can share everything you want. So that way you're kind of building a smart system that you can add to. And then if in the future you come in and you say, hey, I want to add a couple more graphs or whatever, it's really easy. All we're doing is we're putting a new network cable in to put them in the network and a power cable, and we're good to go. You know, you can even put a mount on a track and put it in the back somewhere. I know a lot of my salmon guys like doing that. A lot of my trolling anglers like to have a graph in the back. So that's the nice thing about, you know, having everything networked and sharing with each other is you can effectively share all of that. If you're up in the bow of the boat crappie fishing with a buddy or whatever, and he wants to see your Mega Live here, no problem. He can go in and he can see it, and then he can stand right here and you can both cast at the target. You know, if you want to move that back there and the guy in the front still wants to see the Mega Live, you can change through the screens and everything will share completely flawlessly. How your old graph was, it was just, you know, tied into here wherever they can find power. You do not want to do that. It seems kind of, a lot of people, they'll rig it themselves and they'll be like, well, I didn't need this big 10 gauge wire for when the graph's only got small wire. Well, the thing with DC is you lose voltage over distance. So that's the big difference between DC and AC. AC can't be stored but loves to travel. DC can be stored but hates to travel. So if you don't have proper wiring to your units, you'll get the common symptoms we hear all the time. My graphs say low voltage. They flicker when I start the engine. I don't feel like I'm getting the picture I should. They're slow to start up. They're laggy, all that stuff. So we integrate a dedicated harness system to these graphs, and that gives you the best picture possible. I mean, the big buzzword these days is clean power, clean power, clean power. So we make sure that when we rig these systems out that you're getting, you know, a 1.5% voltage drop into your graphs, which is way above what actually the standard is. And that way you're going to have zero problems with your fish finders. Everything's going to work flawlessly. Your picture's going to be perfect. And no matter what, you're going to have a good experience on the water.
This thing is just going to be amazing on the river. Just I don't know what to do with myself when I'm going to be able to use spot lock for the first time and just hold in river current. So look at that. He's even wrapped the cable there with Spraungel Performance Marine. I mean, everything's just like, you know, pride in craftsmanship, workmanship here. So there's the foot pedal. Oh my goodness. Is there anything else you want to cover we haven't covered here?
We should probably touch on the transducers.
Yeah,
because that
absolutely.
was something that we brought up.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
This is a big deal back here.
So this is something that might confuse a lot of people as to why there's 3 transducers on the back of the boat. So when you get one of these units, what you're going to have is it's only going to come with this guy right here, which this is a 3-in-1 transducer that's capable of doing side imaging, down imaging, and 2D sonar. So It technically has everything that you need in there. The problem is with how big that transducer is, the 2D sonar seems to lose at speed. So that's what this little guy is right here. All this does is it's a high-speed 2D sonar. So that way when you're driving across a lake or you're driving up the river, you get a good 2D reading. And you know, safety is one thing. That's what a lot of people ask for it for. My motto is if you see it's 2 feet of water and you're going 40 miles an hour, you're probably already screwed. But the biggest thing for me as an angler is I have found a lot of secret spots on lakes that don't have good maps, just driving. You know, I'll leave one spot, I'll go to the other spot, and I'll just kind of cruise and watch my sonar. And you know, you'll be in 35 feet of water or whatever, and all of a sudden you'll see the bottom will come up to 16 and drop back off. Well, I found a lot of, you know, unmarked underwater islands and humps and stuff like that, and I've actually got a couple lakes where I have memorable days where it's been sluggish fishing weed lines or whatever, and we zip across the lake. We're like, well, what's this? And the spot's just loaded with fish. And then I'm going through, and no map has it. So that's a really important feature. The other thing is the second side imaging transducer.
So yeah, check this out. So I'm just shooting this right at the transom here, like just directly at it, and you notice there's a transducer on the left side imaging transducer and a side imaging transducer on the right, which is it's kind of badass. I like symmetry, but there's a reason for it.
So basically why we did that is when your motor is trimmed all the way down, effectively the side imaging is getting blocked by the lower unit. So, you know, to mitigate that, obviously you got to trim the motor up or whatever. So what we do to get around that is we incorporate 2 side imaging transducers with a Y cable. So basically what it's doing is it's taking the outside image from this transducer and the outside image from the other transducer and stitching them together so this motor is never in the way. So if you're trimmed down or whatever, you're always going to get a perfect side imaging picture, and you're not going to have to trim your motor up. You're not going to have to worry about, you know, is my cavitation throwing it off or whatever. You're always going to get a great picture no matter where your motor's trimmed. And that to me is just, it touches on efficiency. You know, that way you're on your spot, you're imaging right away, you're getting a good picture, and you can break down your water much quicker.
Yeah, and I was on a shoot recently where that happened, where they couldn't, you know, they weren't able to have their motor trimmed down. They had to trim it up and to be able to get a signal off that left side with the side imaging. So that's a big deal. You called me up and said, hey, should we do this? I'm like, yeah, it's worth it. I mean, I'm going all out anyway.
Yeah.
I mean, let's just add to the craziness. But dude, I am so excited about this setup. I mean, just look at this. This is what I've wanted this boat to be for years, and everything just kind of lined up this year to make this a possibility. It's still a little bit of a gamble for me, but you know, life's short, and you know, you gotta take some risks, and I'm just, it looks so badass, dude. I can't. Let me just try to get a little bit right there, a little bit more of the side shot. I mean, I just love it. I love the forward-facing sonar pole. Everything you've done with it is just brilliant, dude. How do people get in touch with you to be able to do this with their boat?
So the best way is to call us 612-459-0064. We do have some people you can message us on Facebook or email us, but we prefer a phone call just because even if you have this exact same boat and you get these exact same products, likely you're going to want something tweaked. So we do pride ourselves on custom boat rigging. No boat comes out of here the same. Obviously, the internal stuff is always the same, but where you want everything is the same. So give us a call. You know, sometimes we'll even have you bring the boat in and we'll walk through it with you. Either me, Cal, or Zach could help you out, get everything rigged up. We're a full dealer of everything, so you can buy the graphs directly from us. You don't have to worry about getting sold the wrong thing at a big box store or something like that. And the other thing is, too, we take care of you after the fact. You know, if you have something, you know, let's say you're down the road or whatever, you got a bad graph or something goes wrong, we will go to the front line. You don't have to call the manufacturer. We'll take care of it. We'll get you fixed up. We'll get you taken care of. and we'll make sure everything's back running smooth again.
Yeah, I am super stoked. Is there anything else you want to cover on the boat, or you think we got it all?
I think we got it all, man.
Okay.
I mean, it's a great setup. I'm very happy with the Mega Live 2 and the Explorers being as good as they are. You know, previously we would have been adding extra graphs for live sonar and stuff like that, and it would have just, you know, kind of gotten a little more messy and confusing, but I love this setup. I love having everything integrated, the trolling motor, the Mega Live, the graphs, everything all integrated into one. It's going to make it a super easy system to run. It's going to make it very user intuitive, and it's going to catch you more fish.